He stepped onto the track at the U.S. Championships wearing a pair of spikes that nobody had ever seen before. Not because they were flashy, not because they were famous, but because nobody had ever bothered to look down at his feet. They were too busy watching him run. 1:42.27, a time that made him the fourth fastest American in history at 16 years old. He shattered the world under-18 record by a full second. He took 3 seconds off his personal best in a single race, and nobody was talking about his shoes. 3 weeks later, he signed a professional contract with Nike, the youngest track and field athlete to ever sign with the brand, a deal that made him one of the youngest professional runners in American history. But here's the thing that makes his story truly wild. Nobody noticed his shoes until he started breaking records. Justin, Texas, a small town about 20 miles north of Fort Worth. Not exactly a track and field capital, but for Cooper Lutkenhaus, this is where it all began. He was born on December 19, 2008, into a family where running wasn't just a hobby, it was a tradition. His father, George, was a state medalist in the 1600 meters. His mother also ran. His older brother, Andrew, finished 4th in the state championship and was a 3rd-place finisher at the Nike Outdoor Nationals. Running was in his blood. But here's the thing. Cooper didn't grow up obsessed with track. He ran for fun in middle school, but the passion didn't really click until later. Before that, he was just a kid doing kid things. Then came the track, and something strange happened. He won. Then he won again. And again. Every race he entered, he won. Now everyone wants to know, what is he wearing? What's on his feet? What's giving him that speed? But the answer might surprise you, because Cooper Lutkenhaus isn't fast because of his shoes. He's fast because of something else entirely. And that something started long before Nike ever came calling. But here's what makes this story different from every other prodigy story you've heard. Cooper didn't think much of it. He wasn't analyzing splits or dreaming of Olympic gold. He was just going out there to compete and have fun. Then came high school. Northwest High School in Justin, Texas. And that's when the numbers started getting ridiculous. As a freshman in 2024, he broke the U.S. freshman record with a time of 1:47.58. Think about that. A 14-year-old kid running faster than most college athletes. But Cooper didn't celebrate. He didn't post about it on social media. He just went back to class, because to him, it was just another day. He had no idea what was coming next. June 8, 2025, Renton, Washington, the Brooks PR Invitational. Cooper Lutkenhaus lined up against 9 other runners. All of them had sub-150 personal bests. All of them were older, more experienced. Cooper, he was just a sophomore. But he didn't run like a sophomore. He went to the front immediately, forged a credible 53.59 pace through the first lap. Then came the final turn. Washington's Owen Powell and Florida's Joseph Sogarras made their moves. They swung wide. They narrowed the gap. Cooper glanced over his shoulder, saw them coming, and then he responded. He accelerated to the finish in a record-busting 1:46.26, a 52.67 final lap. He shattered Michael Granville's 29-year-old national high school record of 1:46.45, a record that had stood since 1996, before Cooper was even born, broken by a 16-year-old who was still learning how to drive. After the race, Cooper paid respect to his predecessor. "I think he still kind of owns that record, you know?" he said. "We got a bunch of guys to come together to try to break it. He was able to do it on his own, so a lot of credit to him." Granville responded on Instagram, "Congratulations at Cooper.Lutkenhaus. I am so happy for you and your whole family. This is just a step to more amazing things to come your way through work ethic, family, and love." But Cooper wasn't done, not by a long shot. Just 2 weeks later, at the Nike Outdoor Nationals, he ran 1:45.45. He took another 0.81 seconds off his own record. And then came the race that would change everything. Eugene, Oregon, August 3rd, 2025. The USA Track and Field Championships, the deepest men's 800-meter final in U.S. history. Cooper Lutkenhaus walked onto the track with the slowest personal best on paper. He was a 16-year-old sophomore from Texas. He was surrounded by professionals, world champions, veterans who had been doing this for a decade. He had no business being there. By traditional logic, he didn't belong. But Cooper didn't care about traditional logic. With 150 meters to go, he was still buried in 7th place. The gap to the front was massive. Most runners would have given up. Cooper didn't flinch. He passed 2 of the fastest half-milers the United States has ever produced. He crossed the line second. With about 120 to go coming off the curve, I saw everybody right there. I was like, I feel amazing. The crowd all stood up and it was super electric. I was like, I have a shot now. 1:42.27. A time that obliterated the world under-18 best, shattered the high school national record, and stood fast enough that only a year earlier, it would have been the American record outright. He finished just behind Donovan Brazier, the former world champion. He ran the 4th fastest time ever by an American. He took 3 seconds off his personal best in a single race. Cooper Lutkenhaus had just announced himself to the world, but he didn't realize it yet. As he crossed the finish line, he threw his hands on his head in disbelief. He had just become the youngest American ever to qualify for a World Athletics Championships team, and 3 weeks later, his phone started ringing. August 25, 2025, 3 weeks after Eugene, Cooper Lutkenhaus signed a professional contract with Nike. At 16 and 8 months old, he became one of the youngest American track athletes to ever turn professional. According to Nike, he was the youngest track and field athlete to sign a pro deal with the brand. He surpassed Mary Cain, who signed with Nike at 17. But here's the thing about Cooper's decision. He didn't change his life. He remained coached by Chris Capo, his high school coach at Northwest High School. He continued to attend home. He continued to attend Northwest as a normal student. Our whole goal with everything was, we want to keep everything the same as possible, if that's possible, said his father, George. If something's not broken, let's not try to fix it. He's happy. He's running well. Cooper still hangs out with his best friends, his teammates. He still goes to class. He still does his homework. The only difference, instead of racing at local invitationals, he now races against Olympic champions. And the shoes on his feet? Nobody noticed them before. Now, everyone wants to know what he's wearing. But the shoes aren't what make him fast. The shoes aren't what made him the youngest world champion in history. Because just months after signing that contract, Cooper Lutkenhaus did something that no one expected. Torun, Poland, March 2026, the World Indoor Championships. Cooper Lutkenhaus, now 17 years old, lined up against the best 800-meter runners on the planet. Elliot Creston of Belgium, Mohamed Atawi of Spain. Veterans, medalists, favorites. Cooper, he was just a kid from Texas, on a break from school. But he didn't run like a kid. He controlled the final from start to finish. He made a defining move that shocked everyone. Maybe it came from confidence or maybe from being too young, but I really wanted to try to make a defining move, he said afterward. He won gold in 1:44.24. He became the youngest individual male winner of any event at a global competition in history, Olympics, World Indoors, or Outdoors. The youngest ever. Then came June 2026, the Oslo Diamond League. Cooper lined up against reigning Olympic and world champion Emmanuel Wanyonyi of Kenya, the favorite, the man everyone expected to win. With 200 meters to go, Cooper took the lead. Wanyonyi challenged, a serious challenge. Cooper dove across the finish line, 1/100th of a second. Cooper won in 1:42.08, a new personal best, a world lead, the fastest time in the world in 2026, and the 3rd fastest time in American history. He beat the Olympic champion. Then 4 days later, he beat him again. After the race, Wanyonyi said something that should make you stop and think. He said, Can you believe that as an Olympic champion, you are trying to knock down a teenage boy? Think about that. The best in the world, trying to knock down a teenager. But here's the thing that makes this story truly remarkable. Cooper Lutkenhaus doesn't seem to realize how good he is. He runs because he loves it. He competes because it's fun. He's not chasing fame or money, and that might be his greatest weapon. Because when you're not afraid to fail, you're free to be great. When you're not obsessed with the outcome, you can focus on the process. When you don't realize you're smashing world records, you just keep smashing them. So what comes next? The world record? Olympic gold? The question isn't whether Cooper Lutkenhaus can become the greatest 800-meter runner in history. The question is, how many records will he break before he finally realizes just how good he really is?